I made a comment on a New York Times article on Instagram about incarcerated firefighters.
Yeah, it's interesting because especially now with the California wildfires still going on, it's a really pertinent topic. Exactly the role of incarcerated firefighters. I know it's been pretty controversial. Exactly what their role is, whether they're being exploited or not, is a term that some people will use. Whether they're being fairly compensated, and it was very interesting hearing your views on it. If you could possibly reiterate them.
Sure. I mean, I think that comment, I didn't realize that comment was going to blow up the way it did and have such a huge reaction from people. And it really did show the split. And I feel like it's kind of separated in big and little groups. The biggest group is what I feel is like the appropriate group. We're so grateful for these guys working their asses off, helping us fight these tragic fires. We're so grateful for their service. They're heroes, just like civilian firefighters are. And then there's a smaller group of folks who rightfully bring up the 13th Amendment and how although there's a lot of great came from the 13th Amendment, there's a fundamental flaw within the 13th Amendment that allows for prisons to use inmates as basically like a slave workforce. And that goes way back to when the 13th Amendment was written. And different states have different approaches to this, where they've rewritten legislation where the prisons have to pay inmates a certain amount of money. And California pays more than some states and less than other states. And I know this to be true because my experience as an inmate firefighter started in Utah State Prison. So along my road to doing 18 years total time in prison, where it was like, I didn't do 18 years straight. I was on a lifer, what they call it, I was doing a life sentence on an installment plan, 3 years here, 4 years there, 2 years here. And 4 of the years I did, or really a little over 4 of the years I did in Utah State Prison. And they had a very unique program where they had inmate hotshots. So in the ranking of firefighters, there's the smoke jumpers. These are the crazy people who, when a lightning strikes, they jump out of an airplane with a parachute. They try to put it out the fire before it ever becomes a fire.
Oh.
The second most advanced are the hotshots, which is what I was. We'll either hike into a fire or helicopter into a fire, create the hell attack for the helicopters to land, hike to a fire, which can be anywhere from, I don't think most people realize how insanely physical wildland firefighting is. You carry a 60-pound pack, you're carrying a 15-pound Pulaski, which is like an axe with a hoe on the end of it. You have all your water, all your fire protection gear, you're wearing full clothing, and you have to hike anywhere from 2 to 10 miles to the fire, and then you start working. And that's not just for inmates, that's for civilians. So I want to say in the very beginning of this that I do agree that all firefighters, especially wildland firefighters, should be paid more. I think the structure firefighters are paid well. I'm sure some of them will argue they should be paid more, which I'm always for more money for firefighters. But the wildland firefighters, I definitely think they should be paid more and be recognized, probably more than they are. And so anyway, I was in Utah. In Utah, I was there from 1994 to 1998 while this program was going on. That program has now transitioned into a civilian hotshot firefighter crew called Lone Peak. But they paid us minimum wage, which was like $7 an hour back then. And it allowed for people to have extra money to buy food from the canteen. And some of the guys were smart and saved their money for when they got out, which ideally, if we were to be able to raise the wage for inmate crews in California, that would be the ideal, is that they would make some money, save the money, have a nest egg for when you get out. Because what I think most people don't understand, that I think California is on the high end of it. When you get out of prison, you get $200 and a kick in the butt, and it's like, good luck. And in a lot of cases, in my case, and the guys who are in there have been like wildlings out there, burning bridges and screwing over their family, or this isn't for everybody, but in my case, I had burnt all the bridges I had. I didn't have anybody really but myself and my sister, and so you're out with $200 and no more education, no more rehabilitation, no idea how to do anything better than what you did before. And so going back to the divide, there's the big group who is appreciative of the firefighters. There's a smaller group that is the 13th Amendment folks talking about, they call it legal slave labor. Mm-hmm. And then there's a smaller group of people who are like, they're prisoners, they deserve it, they don't deserve anything. And that's the really small kind of fringe group that says, you did a crime, you should be punished, you shouldn't get anything, you're lucky to be walking on free soil. And I would say to those folks, 95% of the people who go to prison are going to get out within 2 to 5 years. I mean, 1 to 5 years, really. And if you don't teach them, if you don't make programs that teach them a different way, they're going to get out and they're going to hurt themselves, they're going to hurt their family, and they're going to hurt the community. And I hope that for those small group of people who say you should just be punished and not taught anything, that it's not their family or it's not them that gets hurt by someone who has no idea how to live in society without learning. And I had to learn. Like right now I have, you were talking about being an artist. I'm lucky I could be an artist and stuff like that. But for years, I only could see myself through the lens of this kind of like menace and a villain and a drug addict and a thief. It just kind of become like who I was, and I couldn't see past it. There was no future for me. I was never going to be anything other than that, and that was it. And I got lucky when I was 40 years old. Actually, I was 38 years old. No, 40 years old. Now I'm going to have to go back to my memory 17 years ago. And Judge Parsons, I always say his name because he's the one who gave me the chance, gave me the opportunity to I was facing 12 more years. I'd stolen another car, and I was a repeat offender, and I was facing 12 years. And he says, look, man, I'm looking at your life. Is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And I was like, in court, I'm like, no, even though I still couldn't see past it. And I'd been while I was in county jail fighting that case, I got into a program called Choices. And that program was based on a model of another place called Delancey Street Foundation. And he said, there's a really advanced program. It's kind of like a school for knuckleheads called Delancey Street Foundation. And you can go there for 2 years, or you can go to prison for 12 years. And I'm not great with math, but I could do that math. So I said, I'll take 2. And I didn't think it was going to work, to be honest. If I'm honest, I'll go there for 2 years and I'll get out and I'll go back on a thing. Because it sounded like a lot better than going to do. I would have done like 6 or 7 years on that 12 years, but 2 is better than that. So I went to Delancey Street. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life, because I can tell you from experience, being an asshole is easy. It takes 0 effort. I mean, we see it every day online. There's nothing you can post where people aren't divided, where there's some nice people and there's some mean people and some assholes who are saying something really awful and negative. That takes 0 effort. But to be kind and empathetic and looking out for the next person and trying to help the next person and being a better version of yourself every day, that takes an enormous amount of effort. And for a person who's been an asshole their whole life, it feels impossible when you first get there.